Welcome. This is Old Guy Talking AI weekend special edition fantasy football draft. I don't care what you call it. You saw the thumbnail. Use AI. Dominate your draft. Let your team get pre-picked. Bring home every player. Is it true? You don't have to believe me. I'm going to show you exactly how I do it. Then you can go draft them yourself on a mock draft to see if it works. Then you'd know. Okay, you can see the rules right up here next to me. And it's not that hard. Right, first round is like any other first round. Rank the people that you like when it gets to you. Whatever the player that you like the best is still available, that's your first round pick. Pick number 2, just go down to your top 200 list. Look, any player that's got an ADP between 21 and 30, they're your second round pick. Round by round, just keep going. Now, yes, that works. And the obvious reason why that works is it gets you out of that ADP loop where everybody's fishing out of that one section of, includes the number 9 running back and the number 7 wide receiver and the number 12 running back, the number 2 tight end, and everyone's diving in that same pile. And once you get past those first 5, 6, 7, 8 truly elite players, though, it's tough to predict which of the next group of 40 that gets enough touches is going to be the group of 40 that's going to comprise the top 20. Now, why does that all happen? How does AI help get you a competitive team if you're purposely pulling yourself out of the ADP round everyone else is drafting in? Okay, so now I'm going to explain to you why drafting worse players is better for your team, right? You ready for that? It is true if we're looking at a player's value by what their ADP is, their average draft position, which is culmination of what everybody else thinks of them, with probably some tweaking done based on last year's performance and changes to the team and a bunch of other stuff. Where AI comes in isn't, in my opinion, in providing new data, just allowing us to process the data we have much faster, and that makes a huge difference. I have spent too much time looking for links between circumstance and performance. And ADP does link to performance. So do good offensive coaches and bad defenses and a lack of injuries versus injuries, even where players are drafted from college. But there's one statistic that's tied more closely to performance than anything else, and that is, of course, opportunity. So the opportunity factor brings into play a concept that's been around fantasy football for a long time that I've always really liked, which is the tier system of drafting. Right? We segment the running backs into the elite tier, then the next tier, then the next tier, then the next. Looking at those same numbers, but not from an ADP, meaning, well, how did you do last year, and do you have a backup? Just looking at it from a standpoint of how many opportunities a player had, the tiers get really simple. There's a tier of players that has enough opportunities to be considered a 3-down starter type, 18 to 20 touches, 7 to 9 targets, those types of numbers. And then there's the rest that don't. Now, in the group that does have enough touches, there are the elites, right? And you want those. They outperform other players consistently year over year when they've given the same basic number of opportunities. And we all know who they are. We fight over them every year, right? And they go at the top of the draft. But after you get, like I said, those 7, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, however many there are that year, the next group, a lot of things will determine what of those next 30 players that have enough opportunities are actually going to fill the top 20 from a standpoint of scoring. Just I don't see any way to predict them, right? Yes, the coaching matters, but then also injuries. When there's all these variables that go on, instead of trying to figure out variables with no constants, there is another group to look at, and that's the bench group. And their ADP is not near as good a marker because it has to be guesstimated how many opportunities they'll get as a backup, and that's baked into their ADP and it's set. So if that player, that talented individual, starts getting the 18, 20 touches, their performance is almost always going to skyrocket. In fact, when it doesn't, it's all over the sports news about how the backup didn't perform, or they're getting replaced, is the team going to be looking to bring somebody else in? Because there's a standard measure of performance with these elite athletes that's kind of known. And I mean, how many times have I seen someone pick someone up off the waiver wire because the starter was hurt and the backup goes off for 23 points? They got enough opportunities and they're talented because it's the NFL and they're all talented. But in that group of bench players, there's an elite group, just like there is in the starters, That's the two groups we're targeting. And most specifically, that top layer of the reserves. Those opportunities that for arbitrage where you get more out of a player if his teammate gets hurt. So why not draft them both and know your combo can only get better? And there's many different examples every single year, from elite tier down to the scrub tier, a couple of clowns that'll fill in to be your flex, that can be super effective not only in duplicating in that one little spot your wide receiver two, performance comparable to someone drafted higher, but there's the built-in security of getting hurt doesn't hurt that spot because you put the other person in and they get 85% of what they did. And no, it's not 100. And no, if I was out there drafting somebody else off somebody else's team hoping their starter got hurt, their reserve might do a little better. But I can't control when they're going to be hurt and when I can use them. But if it is my backup, and I've grabbed the elite backups, in fact, I've grabbed my starters based on the fact they have elite backups, then I can consistently put enough opportunities into every one of those positions every week to maximize my chances of scoring well. That is all there really is to it. I even put some notes in here. I don't even know that I looked at them because there isn't much more than that. So what does that mean? Who am I targeting? What am I doing? It's going to the top 200, taking in all the podcasts and the videos that you watched and the players that you like and the preseason that you saw and who you liked from last year, and take that all in and go, who do I want on my team? Now, I'm going to show you an example of, off the top of the dome, some matchups this year that seem to work and give someone, hey, not only a starter, but then have their backup also be usable as a starter if something happens. Give you close to equal, if not even better performance. So here's the list of them, and then we'll talk about how to build a team around it. All right, here we go. Got a sheet here, lists off some of the pairs of starters and backups that might make sense for you to take a look at, and not the round they're going in ADP, but the round you would have to take them in order to get them. So I can see clearly now, can't I? For the running backs, the obvious one, the Detroit guys, it'd cost you a first round pick, obviously, if he's there when you pick. In the fifth round, you can get his backup. And basically, you can have two top 20 starters. And oh gosh, if something happens to one of them, the other one turns into a top 5, top 3 guy. And either one do it. It's amazing. I hope that holds up with the offensive line changes and new coordinators. I love that pair. Tampa, if you're a late first round pick and you want Bucky Irving, my gosh, do they have an experienced pass-catching 3-down backup you can get in the 11th round and essentially guaranteed that you got Bucky playing at last year at a 10-12, I think was his final ranking, but a backup that can perform almost as well if given the opportunity with Bucky out. Seattle, holy cow. Third rounder for your starter, Charbonnet in the 11th. He's going so late. You've basically given yourself a top 15 to 20 running back all year long. Arizona. I don't want to talk about Arizona because Connor's such a hidden treasure. He goes way too late, and they drafted Benson last year, and that kid plays pretty well when he's out. He splits time, but he catches some balls. And you can get that for, they say a fourth round pick. I don't see Connor going ahead of ADP ever. So even in the fifth, pretty sure you can get him because the way my little thing works out, it's right on the line. And the 11th. So to think for a 5th and 11th round pick, you get a consistent starter who's going to score in the teens overall of running backs and has done it for years. And if he has a drop off, well, the Benson kid's on the way up, right? Seems like a win-win. The New England guys, big in the news. Their former running back was number 20 last year on one of the worst offenses I've seen in a while. And this year, you're essentially getting a low-end number 2, right? You figure the rookie right now, and an incredibly capable backup who's been paid a lot of money to be a stud starter, and again, was number 20 last year. You also got that upside of an offensive coordinator that likes to use a pass-catching running back to catch the ball as part of the running game, kind of that short passing attack, and that's been used by McDaniels for as long as he ever coached. So I see some upside, and even if none of that happens, you still have a guy that's going to be comparable within a point or two of everybody else's second running back with just as good a backup on the bench if he's hurt. It's just a winning combo. Here's the last couple that I really like. The New York Giants cost nothing, and why not? The Tennessee Titans cost nothing, and they will consistently give you points. And you'll have backup if somebody gets hurt. They cost nothing. How about Pittsburgh? There's a chance one of them doesn't play, and since no one knows, they both don't go until late in the 7th and 8th rounds, you can fill that spot. Amazing, amazing. And you can match a couple of these up and say, all right, I'm going to use my 3rd round pick in the 11th on a Seattle guy, and I'll use my 4th round pick in the 10th on the Arizona guy, and I'll cover all of my running backs and have my 1st and 2nd round picks open in 6, 7, 8. And it can all be wide receivers, quarterback, tight end. Now, speaking of wide receivers, this is in flux right now, but Kansas City, those 2 receivers, when not hurt, perform as top 10 receivers. So for the price of a 3rd and a 4th round pick, you can have a top 10 receiver. I don't know how you can do that any other way. The Rams, steep price, 1st and a 3rd. Either of those guys slips, I really like them. They can both be a high volume number 1. They're both stud wide receivers. And they have one of the most amazing offensive coordinators going. How about the Dolphins? A 3rd and a 5th for Hill and Waddle. A 3rd and a 5th. And then finally Detroit. If you're going to take their starter, probably should take Williams in the 4th. Just because new offensive coordinator, hard to see who's going to be the top guy. Maybe they split it. Maybe you got 2 guys you can start every week. Maybe only 1. But you won't have the flexibility. And then little things like Minnesota. You want to dive into that well with their players. They get some guys out for a couple weeks. Just take a look at that. There could be some inequalities that you can take advantage of. And there's something with the Raiders, the tight end, the running back, and their wide receiver. Some kind of synergy if you happen to grab. I don't know how you'd grab the first 2. Maybe if you were late on the turn in the 1st round and wanted to go Raider heavy, I'd circle back and grab their wide receiver in the 7th or 8th round too. So there you go. Take those guys. Take a look at a top 200 sheet. Pick which ones you want. Fill them in. Take the rest of the spots, either fill in with guys or even leave a couple blanks. You can walk into the draft with a few wild cards. This works. I hope I explain it in a way it can help you, and I hope you use it to crush your draft. Good luck.